This topic today, I do a podcast, and it's for solitary confinement, and a lot of people have a lot of things to say about it. We're talking about the effects on it, and just your opinion. So if you have an opinion, if you want to join into the live, you can do that. You can write anything in the comment section as well. Please say whatever you want. Just be respectful, of course, of people's opinion. So we're just gonna jump right into it. Of course, I already stated before that this topic is solitary confinement, and it's just a lot going on in the world today, especially with the correctional facilities and people dying in solitary confinement. So I feel like this was a good topic to start off with. I always do a quote of the episode, and this one came from Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela found solitary confinement to be the most forbidden aspect of prison life. There was no end and no beginning. There's only one owned mind, which begins to play tricks. And we all know Nelson Mandela, he was in solitary confinement for what? He was in jail for 27 years, and he was in solitary confinement for 6 years, I believe. So he knows the firsthand experience. Again, I open the floor. If you want to join into the conversation, you could just add join request. You could join in. I'd ask for people to just be respectful of people's opinions and everything. You know, this is a sensitive topic for some people, so I just want to be respectful. But the floor is definitely open to any question, comments, concerns, whatever you want to say. The floor is open. So just to get some clarity, because some people, even when I was posting them, like, what is solitary confinement? But I was like, I'm not going to judge them, like, why don't you know that? But it's like, okay, I can explain it. So solitary confinement is basically, it's different names for it. So it's the box is called a shoe, isolation, the proper name, administration, segregation. So it's a form of imprisonment in which the inmate lives in a single cell with little to no meaningful contact with other people. So how it's supposed to go, you are giving 3 meals a day. Some people don't even get that. The whole is a good one. They shower 1 time a day or once a week. It depends on the facility that they're in. Some people are allowed paper to write letters and stuff, but you get no phone calls, you get no visits, you get no packages. It's clear, like, isolation. Some max facilities, when you're locked down 23 hours a day, you get out for an hour for fresh air, maybe, you know. You get no clocks, you don't get nothing. It's just a wall, a bed, and a toilet, you know, because that's your right to have a toilet in there. But I just can't imagine being in the room. Before, I was like, if I ever get incarcerated, put me in a box, because I don't want to be near nobody, I don't want to talk to nobody. But then it's like, I have the option. It's like, I still have television, I still have my phone, so I'm still not isolated or secluded from the world, you know. So I still know what time it is, I still know if it's day or light outside. But when you're in confinement and they don't have windows, it's just a wall, so you don't know what time of day it is, what if it's day or night. You don't know how many days you've been in there, so it's just a lot. So what also sparked the conversation for solitary confinement was the effects that solitary has on individuals, especially because mostly, not to say females and experience that too, but mostly the males experience that, and is a lot of psychological effects to solitary confinement. So I was doing a lot of research on topics. I don't want to come up here just flapping my jibs, right? So this is psychological damages, which can cause anxiety, paranoia, anger, depression, impulse control issues. I don't know if you ever guys watch like How to Get Away with Murder, and it was like a scene where Nate's dad was in the shoe for so long. He came out and killed somebody. So like impulse control. Oh my God. Yeah, so whenever you're ready to, you just press join and you can join the conversation, because we was talking about it prior to, and you had a lot to say and shine some light on the Georgia's correctional facility as well. So definitely want you to join in so you can share your story of how that experience was for you as a correctional officer. Well, also another thing that sparked the conversation, solitary confinement. I don't know if you guys ever heard of him, and I will urge you to. Khalif Browder. So he was, I don't know, I can't remember how old he was, but he was in the Bronx. He went to Rikers, and he was there for a stolen book bag. He was convicted of a stolen book bag. He spent 2 years in solitary confinement. And I'm not going to say you have to be strong to, surpass that, but it was a lot. It was a lot for him, He was in there for 2 years. Sometimes he didn't eat. They gave him like leftovers. Like if somebody ate food, they gave him leftovers. He didn't shower. He wasn't able to talk to his family. Nothing. So it was just complete isolation that he was experiencing. And now he started hallucinating, and like he felt like the guards just come in and beat him up and everything. Yeah. Solitary confinement varies from state to state. Normally, you're behind a steel door anywhere from 22 to 24 hours a day. They are working on taking those things due to the mental health issues after solitary camps, and many jails, prison have taken that way. Yeah. And I feel like I can understand some of the prisoners need to be punished for the actions that they've done in there. So I feel like it should be, it's gray areas to that. So it's like serial killers and child molesters. I feel like, okay, you could go in there, I won't have no remorse for you. But then what about the people like Khalif who was wrongfully convicted, and now they're put in the shoe for their protection, and then in all reality it's hurting them, like by being you can join in too. Like you can request to join in. Yeah, he did commit suicide because he felt like everybody was after him, like the paranoia, which is one of the side effects of being in solitary confinement for so long. PTSD, obsessive thoughts, your loss of identity, and you can have homicidal thoughts, and that's another thing too. I feel like the prison system is like a contradiction. You're supposed to rehabilitate, but then it's supposed to be a punishment as well. So like, can a serial killer be rehabilitated, or like a person who is wrongfully convicted and innocent people, are we making them into who we accuse them to be? So I feel like it's here and there. And in jail, it's survival. So now I'm in survival mode. I'm in survival mode. He was so isolated that the world didn't feel the same anymore, right? When he got out, of great things was happening to him. He had a lot of support, but the clothes was too much north and free world, right? It's just like, how do you go back into the normal world after being secluded for 2 years? And 2 years is a very long time for us being out and about, living our everyday life, but sitting in a single cell with nothing, with the torture of guards, not getting food, not getting the proper health care, mental treatment. That probably felt like forever. So it's like, how do you help somebody like that? And the only way they feel like they can escape that is killing themselves. So it's like, it's a lot on. And his mother passed away too, not from the stress of that, but not just for the stress of that, but her health problems too. But she's like, I see the transformation. Like, he's paranoid. He's paranoid. He's doing all this stuff. It's like, how can you console somebody like that? He experienced that, so we can't tell them like, oh, don't feel the way you feel because you're out now. But it's like, that trauma is there. I'm not gonna say there is no healing, but it's like, how can you undo what you've seen, or undo how you feel? So it's like, and it's so many people who even been in solitary confinement for 2 days or whatever, feel like, I can't wait to be up. But then some people feel like, oh, I'm macho, I'm tough if I go to top. That, to me, that feel like because you went to the box, you feel like you did something. Like, now you got your stripes in there for jail, like people know not to mess with you. But then that's all the front. I feel like that's all the front. And also, I was reading that it was a man in New Britain, the United Kingdom. He was and he broke the world record for being in isolation for, I want to say 13 years. It was 13 years for, he was in prison for so long, 13 years. Just like, imagine that, being in that a prison cell for that long, and you don't even know that you're in it for that long, and that will become natural to you. Like, I don't know. I just feel like solitary confinement can be inhumane at some point, but then it's like, I look at the people who committed murders and be like, okay, you did what you have to do. You have to go in there. Oh well, like, you caused your own thing. But then it's like, I feel bad for the people who did minor offenses, like misdemeanors, whatever. Now you got to serve jail time. Some people pick up on you, and now you have to go to the SHU because you got into a fight, and now that messes with you. Or black people and other races too are wrongly convicted of stuff, and now you have to fight to be in there. Now you're in the SHU, and then that just don't affect them. It affects their family members as well too. So it's like, your loved one is incarcerated, and now you don't know. You go up there to see them, right? And there's no blast alert to say that like, oh yeah, your loved one is in the box or the SHU or whatever. No, you gotta take that 10-hour, that 11-hour, either some that 24-hour drive, and then be notified that your loved one been in here, and be like, how long he was in here? Oh, he's been in here for a week. So it's like, how they don't get no packages, they don't get nothing. So it's like, now you're worried, are they eating, are they safe, were they in there? Because of a lot of things run through your mind, and it's just a lot. It's a very lot. And a strong therapist is very good. It's like, can a therapist, like, that's like years and years of work to be with a therapist. It's like, by that time, of course, your therapist, you always gotta rewind, play what happened, and between that time of you rewinding what's happening, that person commits suicide because they don't want to talk about it anymore, or they don't want to deal with the trauma or the triggers anymore. And it's just a lot. Also, like, they're starting to close down some jails, some isolation facilities, because it's a public health issue. Which I feel like, if it's a public health issue, it started off that way, but so it's like, now you want to deem it as a public health issue because people are dying, suicide, right? They're not getting the proper care they need. Then again, being malnourished, their mental health is affected. Like, it's just a lot. Hold on, we have somebody that wants to join in.
Hello.
How's it going?
Hi.
Nice to finally meet you. We've been
Same to
talking.
you.
We've been talking a lot. This is Mama Flex. She is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful soul, and she has a lot to say about this specific topic. And then another topic about domestic violence that me and her is going to collaborate on, and she's gonna come on and share her story. She's such a strong survivor. But for today, we're just going to talk about your experience that you encountered when you was a correctional officer in Georgia. So can you
Okay.
that?
I started working for the Georgia Department of Corrections in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
Started off as a correctional officer, and then I was promoted to a counselor. Um, During my time working there, our confined.
Oh gosh, hold on. She's having some connection issues. She'll be, hopefully she'll request to join back, or should I request her back? Let me see.
I don't know what happened. Can you hear me?
Yes, now I hear you now.
Okay, so as I was saying, I started off working for Georgia Department of Corrections in 2008. Probably 2009 or 2010, I was promoted to counselor. And during my time of working there, our confinement was pretty, I'll say it's pretty decent. I even worked the building where they were our lockdown unit. The officers we had there was like kind of seasoned.
Mm-hmm.
So they were really good about doing checks, doing things that they were supposed to do, showering. However, since COVID came, that's when it got bad. Like people were in confinement getting killed because the guards were being controlled by the inmates.
Mm.
Started like 2019 when COVID came.
Right.
So if you got like one officer running a building, um, or one officer running 5 buildings,
Of course, there's no control.
the inmates they done took the keys,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have like trustees, and when you have trustees, right? Trustees do anything for money, especially when they don't have families sending them money. Well, some of them, I ain't gonna say all of them, some of them. So they can easily let the inmate out, to shower. Because, like I said, right now the inmates in Georgia are running the prisons.
Mm-hmm.
So they can easily they let the guys go, steal the other guy's stuff. They put a hit on them. My son just recently got out of one and probably heading back to another one.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, his stay there was horrible. He was stabbed.
Oh.
Um, I remember the night that he was coming home.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to make sure that he came home, like nobody put a hit on him because yeah, he's a gang
Right.
member or whatever. So the lady stated to me, she said that, well, we're not gonna put him where in lockdown unit, but we will put him somewhere safe. She said because if we put him in lockdown unit, we might forget that he's back there. And I'm like, huh?
What?
So,
How you
so
think
you mean to tell me he'll be back there 24 hours with no food? Like, how are you gonna forget he's back
right?
there? So that means pretty much you was letting me know that there's nobody running that
Yeah.
part of the
Right.
facility. So he was like, well, mama, he called me. He was like, well, mama, I don't know what to do because, if people see that I'm going home, because most of them, they know when you're going home
Mm-hmm.
or. So he was like, I don't know. He was kind of scared to stay in general population because he was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. I don't know if I'm going to
Right.
make it. And I'm like, just stay awake all night. So it's terrible. Like he wasn't getting food like he was supposed to, and like you said with the mental health thing, when he came out, it took him months to get back mentally
Right.
stable. It was like he couldn't hardly remember anything. Like he had been stabbed in his neck, in his head,
Oh wow.
in his back. Like it's terrible. So they wanted me to come back and work, and I'm like,
No,
nah.
that's too much.
I would.
You live in.
Like y'all couldn't pay me enough because I mean the guards are like being controlled by the inmates, and a lot of people don't understand. They like, oh, the guards they doing this or they nasty. And it is a lot of times if it's one, like I said, one guard to 300 or 500 inmates, and somebody threaten you.
Right.
I mean,
It,
our goal, listen, our goal, yes, it is to keep the inmates safe, but my goal was to get out them gates and go home to my family. So I was,
like
I wasn't trying to start no beef. I wasn't trying to start no beef. I wasn't trying to be nasty. I would go by my policies, but yeah. But when I worked lockdown, it was cool. We did everything that we were supposed to do, but now I'm hearing a lot of bad stories, from family members and current coworkers. Well, people that are still there. And also in Fulton County, they just a family just filed a lawsuit because um what happened was the guy he was a mental health guy, and they really do them wrong. Those are the ones that mainly mistreated. They put the guy in confinement. He was mental health. This
mm-hmm.
guy was found dead because he was bitten to death by insects and bed bugs. How was that possible?
How long was he in there for all that to happen? He had to be in there for so long for just the bugs to eat him alive like that.
Must have been forever. They must have put him in there and never came and checked on him. Like
Literally.
when they showed the pictures, and it was like no, somebody had to go and they had to have a bed bug farm or something, or roach farm, and just threw it in there. Because I'm like, how could you just
let somebody do that?
Yeah, so then they asked one lady to go in there and give them mouth to mouth, and she said I couldn't because that's disgusting. So she resigned. Um,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think.
that's what I want to know. How is it possible? Am I retired? I'm not old enough to come out of retirement yet, but I went ahead. I'm vested. I am vested. So I did my 10 years or more, but I ended up getting into a marriage and I relocated. So I pretty much got vested, moved, and that's that. So no, I didn't retire out. I don't think I would have made it past COVID in the system. I would have resigned sooner or later. So matter of fact, wait, COVID hit what?
2020.
20
I believe 2020.
2020. Okay, so I resigned 2019. So I left just in time because
Just in time.
if yeah, because let me tell you something. With COVID, I was leaving because we were essential workers, and we had to go to work, and there was no way I was gonna go in those dorms. That's just like suicide. Just
Right.
so yeah,
And this
but yeah,
for COVID too, a lot of people were secluded in isolation because they caught COVID, so they wasn't going home. So it's like, now I'm sick, I'm about to die in here because nobody wants to come and check me because I'm scared to catch it.
right,
So that's another thing
right,
too. Like
yeah.
now I'm in there dying just because, and it's like,
And then it's sometimes, and it's sad because the people that really wants to go into the hole or the chute or whatever, it sometimes is full and they can't get in. Like I had a cousin that got killed in Georgia Department of Corrections. He was wanting to go to the hole and they was full, so he got stabbed to death. That was actually his murder was actually posted in one of the groups on Facebook. But yeah, so it's a lot.
yeah,
It's a lot.
and it's like you send like your family members there, like, okay, they did certain crimes, like certain people, like, okay, I'm emotional, but like, like people that's just there just for minor offenses or like wrongly
Yeah.
imprisoned or whatever, and they have to experience something like that, or now they fighting somebody to go to the shoe for their protection, and then they end up
Right.
dying in there.
Right. And then it's really sad because they would take a person that has a misdemeanor charge, like you said, or have a person that has that have violated parole or probation, like
Right.
a technical, and you put them in these level camp prisons with these murderers and these rapists, and then half of them come out mentally messed up.
Literally.
Some of them get raped, and they messed up. I don't feel, well, I know, I'm not gonna say I don't feel, and I think because I was an employee there and I see what goes on behind the walls, they're not equipped
Right.
to handle people with mental health issues.
Yeah.
And then it's like they go in sane and come out mental.
Right.
So
Yeah.
and I'm like, how is that? Like, how is that? You're like, you don't send them to an outside. They don't send them to get help. I know, like in Chatham County Jail in Savannah, like if your loved one has a mental issue or a mental problem, a lot of people don't know that they can go to the courts and have them. I don't know what they call it there, but in Florida we call it Baker Act. You can take yourself and a family member, sign some papers, and they will actually transport them from the jailhouse to a mental health facility, and then I guess they'll hook them up with mental health court, but they end up doing probably like 30 days in a mental health institution, and then they get released. But there are like plans and things they have to abide by, because jailhouses and prisons nowadays, they're not equipped. And it's crazy because like growing up, prison wasn't like it is
Right.
now. People come out of prisons educated and
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
changed. you know, and the system doesn't even have, well, I know in Georgia, I can say that some guys that I know, like in New York, Florida, when they come out with degrees and, you know, GEDs, but Georgia,
Nothing.
a lot of them don't know.
Right.
Like right now, they're saying, "Oh, we don't have enough people to run classes. We don't have enough people to run groups. We don't have enough people to teach GED." Like first of all, pay your
And
employees. You cannot expect for a grown man to feed his family off of
right.
$29,000.
It's not,
And
no.
and we had one inmate. He used to tell the commissioner all the time. He said, "As long as I pay your employees more than you pay them, I always have them on payroll." So you got some people that don't care about their job, and they like, okay, I'll bring you a flip phone for $1,000. I
Exactly.
bring 5 of those in a day, I got $5,000. So it's just, I think the system needs to be redesigned.
Of course. Of
I
course.
do, and it's sad. And if anybody on here has anyone incarcerated, I was a part, I'm still say I'm a part of this nonprofit organization called National Incarceration of Association. They're on Facebook. We pretty much help, you know, you get the assistance you need as far as your loved one, like if they're in a hole and they're getting mistreated, try to help them get out on probation or parole, early parole, write probation and parole packets and stuff like that. So, and we're national. So I'm not as active as I was like last year because of my job. Like when
Right.
you're doing counseling case managers and then you're trying to do volunteer work,
Is it?
it's really like draining. So I'm like, if I could get another position, so, but I mean, I'll still like connect people with that and stuff. So,
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
anybody else have any questions? What they said, put that.
In the chat. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I could put it on my social media page as well because that is some useful resource that some people don't know that is
Yes.
there, and their loved ones is just like they have to go to a halfway house because they don't know how they're coming home or how
Right.
they can help them, you know.
And
So that
that's another thing too. I think that workers should have compassion for those that are locked up. It's like they don't have it. You're welcome. They don't have compassion until it's them or it's their child.
right.
And what I mean by compassion is if you know this person is eligible for the halfway house, put them in. Don't say, well, he didn't request or you didn't request or you don't have enough time. Still put it in.
Right.
You know, so and that's what I did. Now it was hard for me to release a person early, like early release after like a few people that got out early on my caseload end up getting murdered. I was like, nah, I ain't doing that. The Lord wants you out, he'll let you out.
Right.
But then it was some people like the ones that had been in there like 30 years and parole just kept denying them and denying them and denying them. Those were the ones I would put in for early release. But the ones that got like next year or something like that, and you done been in there 5 times, I'm like, nah, you need to sit for a while, you know?
I'm thinking about
So,
you need to
right,
sit down.
because I did like, I worked for the prison, and then I got transferred to a transitional center. So I was also on the orientation team there and the intake team. So I really enjoyed that. Now I enjoyed working at transitional center. So I like seeing the guys like, you know, being changed and reaching their goals. You know, they called me all kind of bees because I was strict. I'm like, no, everybody on my caseload gonna be successful. So they would come back like to the center and they were like, Michelle, man, you know what? We thank you. Like, we understand why you were so hard on us, but we thank you. I'm married now.
Right.
You know, I got a car, I got my job, I'm certified, I don't went to college. And I'm like, okay. They were like, thank you. And I'm like, darn, they making more money than me now. But, you know, so that made me feel good. You know, like I wasn't just there being nasty. Get out my face. Because some of them people talk to them so freaking bad.
Like,
And they used to ask me, like, why you always mean? Why you always look like this? Why you always talk like that? And I had to tell them one day in class, I said, I want y'all to do this. I want y'all to look around the room. And I want y'all to take a good look and then tell me how many people you see that look like you and how many people that don't look like you.
right. Everybody look the same.
And they counted. Everybody counted. They was like, oh, we see about 2 Caucasians. We see 1 Mexican. Oh, and it's like 80 of us.
Exactly.
That's why you be looking mad. I'm like, yeah. I said, so when I come to work, why I got what I'm kikiing for?
Mm-hmm.
I already thank God for waking me up this morning. My kids are well. But when I come here and I see y'all in here, it makes me angry.
Mm-hmm.
That is one reason why we don't have a black president. That is one reason why we can't get what we want, because y'all are in here. You can't vote.
Yep.
So we're losing votes.
Yep.
Your kids are out there. Your kids are out there acting out because you're here.
Yep. And they need.
Your parents are dying. Yep. Like, is that a reason for me to come and be high class and kick it? No, it's not. Right. So that's why this look is on my face. That's why I talk like I do, because I'm angry. It's not like I don't dislike y'all, right, but it makes me unhappy to come here and see the majority of the people here looking like me. Right. Your child is out there being raped. What is it that you can do? Nothing. You can't comfort her or him. Mm-hmm. They're being bullied. They need you. Your grandmama needs you. Your grandmama were raising your kids. Mm-hmm. So it makes me angry. And it was like, you know what? That's some real talk. We ain't never think about it like that. And I'm like, then the thing about it is, we give y'all classes to try to help y'all and turn y'all around and put you on the right classes. Some of y'all don't want them. Right. Some of you get them and then get out. But then you get out and they specifically tell you, these are the terms and things that you need to abide by. Right. If you have a problem smoking weed, go get yourself some help, because you know that they're gonna test you, they're gonna violate you, and you're gonna end up back in here. Like, is smoking weed more important than your freedom and your family? Right. And I can't get it. I guess it's the new stuff they putting on the weed or whatever, but I'm getting it.
Look, I have to be tough on my friends, because I don't want my friends to see that I'm
okay.
The right thing.
All right.
Like, are you kidding me? Your friend who you trying to impress is out there with their child and everything. They got you to be a phone man for. You going in and out of jail. You know, and it's
right.
Really sad.
I agree. If you make it fun, they will enjoy it. Because I'm gonna tell you about me. When I was young, I was locked up. Mm-hmm. I was locked up, right? I was in confinement. Okay. I was fighting. Mm-hmm. They treated me like I had murdered somebody. Okay. They got me, threw me in there. I had to take off all my clothes. It was freezing cold. They didn't give me no cover, like I was suicidal and everything, right? When they brought my food, they would just slide my food under the door. Mm-hmm. And and I had a little window, like, you know, just to look outside at the people walking by, but mm-hmm. It was on the inside. It was on the inside of the building, not outside. I ain't have no trees and stuff. And I'm talking about, when I tell you I had a ball, baby, mm-hmm. We had the best fried chicken. We had our boyfriend. We had games. We had everything. We had movie night, kickball, soccer. So I'm thinking, okay, this is how it's going to always be. Mm-hmm. So that didn't teach me a lesson. Mm-hmm. I got out, stayed out for a while. My big one was when I was 19, I got locked up. Mm-hmm. And that was a whole different ball game from YDC. So when I got locked up to an adult jail, I never went to confinement. But that taught me. Now that little time I did, mm-hmm. right now, I was like, oh nah, I don't want this. Then the judge had told me, he said, if you come back in front of my courtroom again, you going to prison. Right. It ain't gonna be no jail. It ain't gonna be no YDC. I was like, wait a minute. Do I want to be a convicted felon? Because I went on a misdemeanor. It's like, do I want to be a convicted felon? Mm-hmm. Do I want to live my life like this in a box? I'm like, okay, first of all, your mom's sick, because my mom suffered from mental illness too. My mom was sick. She had my son. And I'm like, wait a minute, your son gonna be without you. He might end up in the foster home.
Right.
So just that positive talk right there just
Help.
changed me around. And I can remember my brother, because I got one brother. He has 100 years in prison. Then I got one. He got 40 something years in prison. So I can always remember him saying, "Big Red, if you can't beat him, join him. Can't beat him, join him." I'm like, "Can't beat him, join him. Can't beat him, join him." And I was like, "Oh, all right." So he's telling me to work for the system. So
Right.
wow, I just joined him. I'm like, now this will keep me
Yeah.
out of jail, because it's like I'm going to jail every day, you
Right.
know. But when I was in YDC, I did have a young lady. Her name was Valencia. She was a director. No, she was an officer at that time. And she used to always come to my room, and she used to tell me, she was the only one in life that used to tell me, "I see so much in you. You're better than that. You're so beautiful." She used to bring me like hot curlers and stuff to hot curl my hair. And she was like, "Why are you so angry? Like, why are you always fighting?" And I used to, "Man, get out my face." I used to act bad in front of everybody else. "Get out my face. I don't want to hear that. Get out my face." But at night, what she said to me would register. And I'm like, "God, she the only one that, really see something in me. Everybody else like, oh, you so bad, you this and that." But I was acting out because I was the only child and I wanted family. So that was my way of getting attention. I would act out. So when I went to jail, those words that she said would still play in my head. And I was like, you know what? I want to be like her. I want to make a difference, because she really made a difference in my life. And I said, I want to be like her. So a lot of people, they be like, "Why you want to work with youth? Why you want to work with you?" I was like, "Look, somebody had to work with me, because y'all know I was off the chain." So that's really where I'm heading now, to like work with youth, because I feel like if I can stop them before they get, 18, then, our children are our future, because when they get in GDC, they're not going to be able to handle it. Because a lot of them are already dealing with mental issues already, the
Right.
younger kids. So when they get in there, that just pulls it more
Right.
out. Pull it out more, and the marijuana pulls it out more. And I mean, I've seen some people that come out and they don't. I got one cousin. He's deceased now. He died during COVID, but he just talked to himself. And when you listen to him, like I can hear real good because of my sight. I can hear real good. You can hear him, like he think he talking to the inmates in there. And he used to repeat everything, like, "Yeah, man, yeah, I went and I knocked him out, da da da, and he did this and that." And then when you look at him, he'll stop, but he didn't want to take a shower. It was a lot that, it messed him up. Prison messed him up, and that was in Florida.
Right.
So
And it's like, I feel like they should offer free therapy sessions or whatever for people who are incarcerated and come out. Because now their own system, they can't get the proper care that they need. So like, make that an option too, like early release or whatever case, free mental health thing. Let that come as well. Because some say,
well, they like some of their parole some of them who have mental illness, their parole conditions is that once you get out, you have to seek mental health counseling. And then for like some of y'all, if y'all are on here and y'all don't know, I don't know if you live in Georgia, but if you live in Georgia, I know for a fact that when you get released from prison, and if you have any like type of mental illness, they have the mental illness, not the mental illness. They have facilities or centers that will give your loved one or you a case manager, and you automatically qualify for a housing
oh, wow.
voucher, regardless of, regardless. And that I know that for
Oh,
sure.
that's,
I know that
it
for
don't make you
sure.
want to go to jail
Right.
to do it, but it's like, oh, at least you got something.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like they don't work hard because they have to work. It's not like, it's not like they are, like they didn't do anything, while they was there. They work. That labor is hard. So, but I mean, I think that, and the taxpayers' money, we paying for it. So,
Yeah.
hey, why not? But they have to go to counseling. They have to go to therapy. They have to go see a therapist or a psychologist, but they can't make them take their medication. So that's completely out of their control. So in order to get them medicated, the thing to do would be to get them an injection because that lasts 30 days. So that's just,
That's every.
and check with your local resources, like your local resources for like food and clothing and transportation. But if they get connected with a mental health caseworker, the facility, the organization will provide like bus tickets and things like that.
Wow, that's definitely helpful information because New York is totally different. Like Rikers Island, all these jails in New York, it's like they're getting worse as the day goes. Like the correctional officers, they're just leaving, but they're getting hurt. So it's like, what's left to do? And it's like, the younger they get younger, and then repeat feelings, repeat it. It's like,
Yes. And then nowadays, like I said, you're getting correctional officers in at 21.
yes, you get, young,
21.
yeah,
21 don't know nothing about the streets.
yeah.
They just think a good $29,000 is good for a 21-year-old. You know, so they need to up the pay. Then if they up it to 34,000, what can that do for a grown man and his kids?
And they put hard work. They're pulling in doubles and triples. They can't leave. They're on lockdowns. It was like, I'm living in the same conditions as you. I'm eating the same food as you. It's like, I'm putting myself in this box with you, and you only giving me this. So you telling me I'm only worth this amount of money to help rehabilitate. And then once it's like, hopefully I don't get, and when you get injured on a job, then it's like, okay, workers' comp don't come in on time. You walk through the.
And it's only what, 30% of your check, so that's not enough to feed your family.
Pennies on the dollar. Like, I still have a family after I leave from here.
Right.
And like you said, people passion for inmates, but the correctional facilities, like the correctional officers as well, because that's a lot. It's a lot on them.
Right.
And
right.
Every day, like, it's 100 inmates who tatted up, drugged up, like, that can just snap your neck in 1 minute, and you're like, oh God, now I have to try to discipline them. They fighting. I'm just gonna let them fight.
Yeah.
Because
it's terrible. Like, it was like the facility I was at, they started sending juveniles there.
Wow.
And I was like, Lord, no. This one guy, as soon as he got off the bus, somebody must have put a hit on him. This boy got killed as soon as he got off the bus. And I'm like, that's why when they used to leave, I used to tell them, make sure your debts are paid. Y'all, please, because they can find you. Trust me, they can find you. I mean, it's so simple to find you. You're in Georgia Department of Corrections. Like, it's public information. So you think they can't find you? Like, a honey bun and some noodles is like a steak to them.
Yeah.
So it's sad, but I hope they revise the system. And I just want to know, I'm working with mental health court now, but I'm trying to find out, like, how certain people can plead insanity, but certain people can't. Like, certain people can go and kill up 100 of my people, and they can plead insanity and get off or get nothing. But then you can have one of my people have a bag of weed or an ounce of weed, and they gone. They gone.
And always
so
it's always the Caucasian people, you know.
Right.
And you look at their sheet. Oh, they was in special ed and they had trauma when they were 6 years old, and I called that for them when they're 45. Excuse? What happened to that little there?
Oh, I'm so glad you feel how I feel. I'm so glad that you feel the way I feel, because I mean, if you go and shoot up 100 people, that's enough to make you insane.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, what happened from the time he was 6 to the time he shot this person up? Was he getting treatment? How many episodes? That's what I would consider before I say, okay, they're too incompetent to stand trial, or we're going to send them to this type of court where they would have a 2-year 2-year commitment, and after that it's wiped away.
Right.
Because, like, Anybody will lose their mind after they say, "Oh Lord, I done this, I done that. My life is in, my wife is gone, my house is gone, this and that." So yeah, temporary insanity. Like, are you really insane,
Yeah.
or is this
Yes.
temporarily?
So
Because we all have temporarily insanity moments.
yeah, that
So,
was we did that. But it's like, what made you get up to go do that? And then like some people who was in solitary confinement, they come home, they act out. Now they're homicidal, do whatever. That's the reason you can plan. You can say insanity. It doesn't justify
right,
it, but they're not. They're not there, and because of
right.
that, they're not there. But
I
you
agree.
woke up, had a burger, and be like, "Oh, let me go kill somebody today." You're not saying you planned that. That's premeditated.
Exactly. And then they want to say, like, say for instance, if a person is already on parole, right? They get out, they'd have been classified as schizoaffective or schizophrenia, bipolar, major depression, or whatever. They have this diagnosis. They go out, mess around, and click because somebody triggered them.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you say, "Can this person get in mental health?" You know, the first thing they say, "Oh, he was on parole."
Right.
Okay, he was on parole, but since the day he was released from prison,
Mm-hmm.
he has been seeking mental health treatment. He has been doing everything that he has possibly can be doing. He's taking his medication, he's going to group, he's, meeting with his probation officer. But this one particular person triggered
Right.
them or said they were going to kill them, and they probably took their gun,
Mm-hmm.
that the person's gun that pulled the gun on them. They probably took that gun, shot at them or
Right.
something, and now they're back in prison because you said they're not supposed to have a gun. Well, somebody pulled the gun out on them and they took the gun. They were in fear of their lives. It's crazy how the cops can use that, but when
Mm-hmm.
we as people use it, oh no, you on paper. It's like if you're on probation, it's just nothing, just this. Like in Georgia, they send you to prison before you're even found guilty.
Wow.
I thought you were guilty until proven innocent, but in Georgia, it's like probation and parole rules. Like you have no rights, like nothing. If you come in contact with the police, if you get a negative drug test, you're going up the road.
Oh wow.
And it's
Georgia.
crazy. Yeah, Georgia is.
Than
And
that.
it's very true. You come on vacation, you leaving on probation.
Wow.
It's true. And this is not the state to get.
Anything, man. You gotta live on straight now over there. So
And it,
just live straight.
and it, and it's so sad because it's like, gosh, at one point I was kind of embarrassed to say I worked for Georgia Departments of Corrections, because it's like, this is what you signed up for. This is, you took an oath, you this, that. And this is how you treat people.
Right.
And then being on both sides, you have loved ones there, and then you're working
Right.
there. And you
Right.
say, God, you like it feel like you're working for the military and the military let you down.
Right.
It's like I gave y'all my time, and my family member lose their life in here. Like, you do XYZ, you're covering up this murder, you're doing XYZ to save your behind. Like,
Right.
if you would have been doing what you were supposed to do,
If it's
it
possible.
wouldn't
But
happen.
hey,
It wouldn't happen.
right.
The whole or whatever, solitary confinement is the easiest. It's about the easiest place to
Mm.
work. I mean, you do have to be mental health certified to handle the mental health clients, but the only hard part about it is you got to make your checks every 15 minutes, your rounds every 15
Right.
minutes. But I mean, come on.
But I feel like, uh, like you said, it's the most easiest part. Cause they can't go nowhere. You ain't got to worry about them fighting each other. You just got to make sure they're good. And I feel like if they're in this, make sure they eat. Make sure they like stuff like this. They're not. They're not seeing anybody. You just even talk to them. Hey, how's you doing? How's your day going? Like whatever. If they having like an episode, all right, you can just leave them alone from it. But how's your day going? The time is this. It's this time of day. It's just keep them involved.
Yeah,
With
I think the mental health ones and the ones with like real bad medical issues, they should be like where the nurses are.
right.
Like they should have like a little session right there. So even the nurse, you know, like the hospitals, like you had a nurse station and then the hospital room. I think at the one I worked at, they did have some rooms like that, but it was mainly for like the juveniles or whatever. But I think those that have severe mental health problems, I'm talking about severe, not everybody be depressed every now and then, but I'm talking about severe, where you're homicidal, suicidal, where you like paranoid, like you don't know left from right, like you're really gone. I think those should be closely watched. They shouldn't even be in a building with officers. I think that they should be like in a little hospital thing, you know, where nurses can see, and then maybe have some officers there that have nursing you know, background or something. And I think that they should have more counseling. Like, I think where it goes wrong is when they're put in confinement, solitary confinement, that they just sit there for 23 hours a day and there's no groups, no nothing. It's take your medication, if they even get their medication, and go back there. So, and if you in there and you banging your head against the wall and nobody comes and check on you, because some of them, they so strong they can pull a brick out the wall, and
that
it's like
can happen too. Right. You think you do anything right now? I can walk through this wall. I'm gonna try to do it because now my mind can do that.
Right, and it's like it's nothing for them in there. Like they don't even give them like books or whatever. They just put them in there with like nothing. Like, I understand you don't want them to get a pencil because they might stab themselves in the brain or whatever, but you can give them a sheet of paper to read or something. You can even have them handcuffed and all of them come and take a cognitive, you know, class or thinking for a change or detour or something. But you put them in this box and there's no treatment. No treatment. One guy came to my house. It was a friend of my son's. When I tell you that I didn't even know who this guy was, because it was like he had been beaten so bad till his whole face was like rearranged. Like he looked something like this and he couldn't hardly turn his neck, and he just, all he do is smile. And I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, he can't take another round of prison. Like he came out not himself. And like I said, even with my son, we used to, like, I used to have to tell his siblings, like, work with him. Like, he got a lot of trauma. Like, if you done had a lot of blows upside the head or whatever, it may take you longer to catch on to things, you know. And then I would find myself getting annoyed, and I'm like, I just told you that. Or why you gotta repeat what I... Because, you know, he would just reiterate. He was like, okay, so you saying do X, Y, Z, blah. And I'd be like, I just told you, like, what? And I'm like, oh, gosh. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. You know, he would be up walking all night. And I'm like, you got to get some medicine. Like, you're home now. You okay. It's okay to sleep. Like, I got you. Ain't nobody coming in here and do nothing to you. We got cameras in here. Then he started thinking that, you know, in his head, he was like, oh, man, you work for them people.
So you wanted them. So now he's cautious. He's being cautious.
So, yeah. So even when he was locked up, and I would call down there, and I'm like, I'm calling to do a wellness check on my son. Like, y'all know who I am. Y'all know who I am. Like, I need y'all to call my son. He was on the phone, and he was like, Mama. And I'm like, son, it's me. Mama. I'm like, son, this is me. And he was like, man. So I had to, like, say little code words. And even when they went to go get him to come down and talk to me, he was afraid to come because he thought they was taking him somewhere to, you know, do something to him. So they was like, he won't come. I said, well, just tell him this word. Yeah, I told them to tell him things that he knew the officer didn't know. So that's when he came. And to hear them beat my son, like they thought I couldn't hear. But to hear them beat my son was very hurtful. I'm like, y'all are beating my son? Like, I know how beating sounds. I know how my son sound when he cry. Like, y'all are beating my son. So the guy he resigned.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, ain't nobody beating your son. Your da da da. And I'm like,
I know it.
hold on, who is this? And when he told my name, he was like, oh, my name Deputy. I was like, oh, this you? You at work? I just called for you. Oh, you couldn't come to the phone and talk to me, but you could beat my son? You
Right.
could beat my son? He was like, oh, your son, he need to be restrained. I'm like, hold on, I know what type of restraining y'all talking about. I said, I hear him crying, saying y'all beating him and y'all are holding his hand too tight. He telling y'all holding him too
Right.
tight. I know how the game go. I'm like, you ain't talking to nobody that ain't never been,
Yeah.
employed by, I'm like, like, I know your people. I'm like, you don't know that I know your people and where y'all stay. Like, I can come to you.
Right.
Y'all, I'm like, just because we don't have the same last name,
Mm-hmm.
don't mean that that's not my child. That's my child you beating.
Right.
That's my child. And I'm like, I'm going to see to it that something be done.
Right.
So I went to every,
Right.
I went through everybody I could. I'm calling everybody. Hey, can I speak to such? Like, oh, this me. I know I ain't emailing. I ain't doing nothing. Okay, if I got to go to Governor Kemp's office,
I'll go.
y'all know I'll knock on his door.
Mm-hmm.
I'll knock on his door if I got to. But they end up letting him out early on parole. Something just recently happened. He was triggered, so he was rearrested.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to tell them, like, he's never been in mental health court. So can't he go to mental health court?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all stated that he have to get seek mental health counseling. He's done all that. So now it's on record that he has mental illnesses. So now let him get mental health court and get out.
Yep. Let him get
So
he needs to get.
right.
And I sorry that he has to go through that, because that's trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma, and you work with him now trauma again. So it's like.
And then the crazy thing about it is somebody was stalking him. A female was stalking him. He called the police on her earlier that week. Okay. Do you think they arrested her?
Of course not.
They told her, oh, if he got another girlfriend, you don't need to deal with him. So she goes back over there 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
2 days after that, you over there in somebody else's car stalking him. She can't tell me that she didn't pull out a gun and she shot, because if he wasn't in his car, he was in his house. Why is his car impound? His car is impound for a evidence.
Mm-hmm.
So she acted like, oh, I didn't know they told his car, this and that. I'm like, you pulled out a gun, didn't you?
Right.
You pulled out a gun and you shot.
Right.
And she was like, oh, no, that's not what happened. I just saw him with a girl. And I'm like, so this boy can be facing 20 years. Granted, they didn't find a gun.
Mm-hmm.
They just went off what you told him and locked him up. They didn't wait until the case was, the evidence. They didn't wait and see, okay, let's do an investigation and then we'll lock him up. They locked him up right then.
And that's so sad.
Yeah.
He said she was always right. It was like, no, not always. Not always.
Right.
That's bitter.
Right.
That's very bitter.
Yeah.
We'll move on to. But it was definitely this conversation with you, very resourceful. I'm going to go back to the link so I can post your foundation on my webpage as well. I feel like that is helpful. It's such a blessing what you guys are doing. And I appreciate you on and talking. You're going to be back on again because we have so much to talk about.
Yeah.
We keep. But my next episode is May 10th, and I will have Nadine McKenzie. So that is Shamoya McKenzie's mom. For those who don't know, you can read up on her. She was 13 years old and she was shot and killed by a stray bullet in a car with her mother. She burning. So she will be on. We're just going to talk a little bit about that day, her healing journey, and how we can help the community, these young kids, put the guns down. And it's going to be a good topic of conversation too. So I thank you for joining, and I appreciate it. Okay.
You're welcome anytime.
Thank you.
So if you need any resources or anything, you can reach out, because I'm very resourceful. I like to investigate and find stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Good night. You're welcome.